Lovely evening, everyone. This evening is now the 9th of March, 2019, and yesterday's date is the incident that I'm going to provide knowledge about. So, again, this evening is now the 9th of March on a Saturday, 2019, and, and the time is 8:52 in the evening. Yesterday was the 8th on a Friday of March, 2019, where I had to stop the threat. This is not new to me to do this, but this is the most recent that I'll share. I have not recorded any other times that I had to stop the threat using some sort of weaponry or myself. But this time it involved, it would have been the baton, but I ended up drawing a firearm, handgun. So anyway, the reason why this video looks the way it looked is because it was about this. It was actually 11:20 last night, again the 8th of March, on a Friday night, 2019, where in front of where your viewing is, where you see a set of cones on each side, the left and right, there's cones there. And this vehicle that's parked there, that vehicle was parked straight ahead between those cones. Sometimes I leave it there, and sometimes I park it behind this fence. Well, it was parked there last night at 11, maybe about 11:15 is when the incident happened. There was a male that approached from the rear side of this vehicle that I'm inside of. So the person came from, well, that's not very good, so I'll get out. The male walked from this direction, and ordinarily, there isn't any reason that one would really need to be on this side of the street. There is a public bus that goes this way in case of someone need to exit the bus, but ordinarily to catch a bus on this side of the street is extremely unlikely because this is an industrial part of town. Well, I'm gonna say that this street is more so industrial on this side of the street. The building that's straight ahead is a out of business textile place, and here is a recently built, which is, I know it's out of focus and out of view because it's very dark. Even to my own eyes, it's dark over here. The lights aren't well lit yet. But this is a power plant by a energy provider. So I was in this vehicle here, and the person decided to cross the street coming from this direction, which in my mind, the person don't have a logical reason to come on this side of the street. Yes, that person has the right to do it, but I'm saying logically, the person really don't have any benefit to walking on this side of the street. It's about the same kind of lighting on each side of the street, so therefore, it's not about needing more light. It's not about being safer than one side, being safer than the other. This person just simply was an opportunist for negative reasons. So, the person, a male, he basically is following the path that I'm about to do now. He came from the opposite side of the street of the vehicle, and he's walking exactly where I'm walking now. I'm inside the vehicle with my seat back and potentially out of view, or at least not easily viewable, perhaps the way I was sitting. And so I kind of wonder that he just didn't really see me, And I should have shut the door to where one can really see. In fact, I'll do that just to make sure that I'm ruling out what he may or may not have seen. Okay, so again, this is what he could have seen. If one can see that there's a square-shaped, kind of dimly lit screen, that's the center console. So he came to this way. I seen him, so that's why I'm able to repeat what he did exactly. I mean, I don't exaggerate. I speak very accurate, or I don't say it at all. I'll tell you what I think versus what may know. So anyway, this is what the person could have seen, is what looks like a square-shaped screen and maybe something lit in the left side console, or dash I should say. And so it's possible that he may not see me laying there or sitting there, lean back some. I grant him that. I'm wearing dark clothing. I'm wearing a dark zipper hooded sweater and black pants. And I'm inside of a window. I'm inside of a vehicle that's tinted in the back and I guess legally tinted on the front, where one can still, I guess, identify that there's someone in the vehicle. So he passes this vehicle and he's approaching my personal vehicle, which is this one here. And that vehicle again was parked between these cones. And so so he's walking now on the driver's side of the vehicle because the vehicle is pointing straight ahead of this video. So he walks between the cones. He walks between the cones, and he's walking fast the closer he gets to the vehicle. And so about here, he just literally just didn't look. I suppose he didn't look in the glass. Maybe he just had a good feeling that if he think one vehicle wasn't possibly occupied, that maybe the vehicle that he was going for wasn't occupied either. So he immediately goes and used the door handle to get himself in. I keep the doors unlocked because I'd rather have a person get in the vehicle and don't find anything than to shatter the glass and still don't find anything of value, at least what I think is considered value. So I'm watching him and I'm thinking, well, this person's walking very close to the vehicle, and my immediate thought is, based on the neighborhood, there's a lot of problematic people, I guess, that got heroin addictions. And because I know this, I figured maybe this person is just an opportunist to try to find something of value, to maybe try to resell it, to either sell heroin or to get some heroin to use for him or herself. And so he immediately gets in the vehicle, but before he could put his buns on the driver's side seat, I opened the door to the vehicle that I was sitting in and got out the vehicle and was walking slightly towards him, but just enough to where if I had to use the door, I left the door open to this vehicle open, just in case if we needed to use it as concealment so he wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So, but not as necessarily protection, because I understand that a door may not necessarily be sufficient to stop potentially, like if he had a handgun or whatever he could have been carrying that could have projected a projectile. So anyway, I left the door open to this vehicle, and I had a baton with me, an iron baton, which I have it on now. I have it with me now. But I didn't pull it out because I didn't want to come across as a threat. But I did say, in the same voice you're going to hear now, "You sure you want to do that? You sure you want to do that?" And I'm walking about the same pace that I'm doing right now. And so it took him like 1 second, which is, kind of a long time when you're in a tense situation, for him to recognize that, oh, someone is there. And I guess it was perplexed that it went from neither vehicle appeared to be occupied to someone is already out the vehicle and on foot walking towards me saying, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that?" And so, but then he had on a hood covering his face, and he had the uni pocket on the front, so that could have connoted they could have had a weapon in that uni pocket. And he had his hand, one on the door, one on the handle of the door, and one hand inside of his uni pocket. And by me walking about this pace towards him, but I didn't get too far, I stopped about here because I wanted to, make certain that this guy couldn't potentially have something that I couldn't get out of the way of or properly respond to him. So, because I couldn't see what he was exactly doing, but what he was moving his hand inside that uni pocket, I figured, since he's bold enough and aggressive enough to go to my vehicle, and he got in like if it was his vehicle, he got in fast enough to where it was like if he's been in that vehicle before, because he didn't get in and like adjust his body to where the steering wheel is and the console. He got in like if he's been in that vehicle before, except he didn't get a chance to get all the way in because I wanted to make sure, was he trying to get in? But I'm very situationally aware. So I knew I don't have to let him get in the vehicle to ask him, what is he doing? That's superfluous to ask someone what they're doing. They're showing you what they're doing. So I figured I just simply wanted to let him know that I know he's there and I'm going to give you a choice. And that's when I said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I had my hand on my baton. But because he had his hand in his uni pocket, I don't want to assume. See, that's the public bus there. And see, the public bus really don't have a place that one would really need to get off near this vehicle. So that's why I figure it's really not really a reason for someone to need to be on this side of the street. The excessive noise is because there's a train track on the other side of this building that's slightly out of view. But there's a train over there, an industrial train. So, continuing, because he had his hand in that uni pocket, my immediate thought is he could have a knife or some sort of blunt instrument or a firearm. And I figured I'm gonna keep enough distance. So I stayed at a distance, especially when I saw the hand didn't come out that uni pocket, that he could potentially pull out a knife. And to me, even if I stayed 21 feet away from him, because I know that's the FBI standard of someone maybe staying away from you with a hand, with a knife, I should say. If the person decided to charge you, you want to stay approximately 21 feet away. So I did that and some. I started, kind of like backing just a couple of paces backwards, and also moving to the side just so he won't be able to predict which way I'm going to go, or maybe determine I'm going to stay in one place. So I basically made myself not a target, but a person that was just moving away from predictability. Because I figured if he had a knife, he might be able to throw it, potentially with accuracy, or a blunt instrument, or a firearm. And so because that hand didn't leave that uni pocket within the time frame that I was talking to him, and he didn't leave my vehicle immediately, I put my hand on my handgun. I carry 3 guns. You'll never ever know me to not have, unless I'm going jogging, I always have 3 guns because, you know, being, you know, either former law enforcement or former military or current law enforcement, or just a person that's very situationally aware, one would likely know that 1 gun is none, 2 guns is 1, and 3 guns is 2. That implies that if 1 gun malfunction, you have another one to access. And if you have a person that needs to be armed, you can give that person a weapon as well, or a handgun, and you have a handgun. In case of 1 malfunction, you still got 2 functional, and you can give 1 to a person that's unarmed, that needs to be armed. So that's the theory of carrying 3 firearms. So I carry a revolver and usually 2 semi-automatics. Sometimes I carry a combination, but a revolver is always on my person because I feel like those are going to be the one that's going to have the least likelihood of malfunctioning because it's a wheel gun. So anyway, so I took out my 45, and it's this one. It's a commander size 1911 45. This is in my videos that are called Jacket Problems. So it's been posted 16 different times. We could have 16 different videos, and they're all entitled Jacket Problems. And they're basically, well, not even basically, they're by the designer Mark Buchanan. In case you wanted to see further details about the handgun that I'm showing you in the dark. And the designer is Mark Buchanan, but the brand is called Pele Pele. And there are 16 different jackets that I'm just doing maybe 2 minutes of each. Just kind of giving a nostalgia for people who haven't seen those jackets in a long time, or for people who never seen them. And some are more newer, but most of them are much older. So this handgun is in those videos, Jacket Problems. So anyway, continuing. So I took out the 45 and I put it in a low ready position because I didn't want that person to potentially be unarmed, and then that person can maybe become the victim all of a sudden. So I figured put it at a low ready position and at my side, but more so at a low ready position, but almost at my side. But definitely ready to bring up to a ready position just in case if I had to stop the threat. So after that 1 second of him recognizing me and acknowledging that me there, and he saw that I was in a low ready position of having something that would likely connote that I had a gun. And so once he had that realization, he says, "Oh no, I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing." And then he closes the door and he goes to the back side of the vehicle and runs into the middle of the street here. So he basically does this. He's about here. Then he runs to the back side of the vehicle because I think what it was, he was just nervous, and he ran into this street here, and he was literally on the yellow lines, the double yellow lines, and he stumbled nearly to the ground twice. Stumbled again. Almost fell to the ground, but he didn't. And then after almost falling to the ground, stumbling twice, he runs and he's trying to pick up traction. Now, it was a bit drier than it is now. It rained a lot today, but more so, it was drier than it is now. And so, when he tried to pick up traction, he kept looking backwards to see, was I gonna fire at him? Was I gonna chase him? Uh-oh. That never happened, and that will never happen again. So anyway, he would periodically look, and he's just running from the yellow lines to the center. The center of the street. Then he runs to the sidewalk further this direction, and then from this direction, he's adding speed to get away. I guess he probably figured, I got a vehicle, I'm gonna possibly maybe chase him or maybe take a shot at him. Well, I didn't do either one. I just simply presented that I could stop the threat. And so while he was stumbling those 2 different times, he says, no man, I'm sorry man, no, I don't want nothing, no, I don't want nothing. And then he said, I promise I don't want nothing. And so he finally gets on this sidewalk and he runs towards the intersection where there's a traffic light in red right now, and he crosses over that, and so therefore he was going towards what's called State Avenue over there. And so I had a disappointment with myself because my logic didn't kick in enough to where I should have kept him at bay. I should have kept him like the aftermath. What I should have done was I should have let him get in the vehicle because there was no key in there. Let him get tucked in and then came to the side of the vehicle at the back door. I wouldn't got at the front door, at the back door, and aimed the gun at him. Or at least, no, in fact, I wouldn't even did that. I'd have took my baton out and gave him the illusion that I could have had a handgun there. But that probably wouldn't have made a difference because, you know, I guess if you're saying that somebody's pointing something at you, that can be connoted that you pointing a weapon, and it could be potentially a handgun, especially if you're investigated and you do have a handgun with you, then I guess it's going to work against me anyway. But I do have a theory to that, and I'll explain in a moment. So my immediate thought was to take either a baton or a handgun and keep him inside that vehicle if he would believe that he has to stay. And if I could have kept him inside the vehicle, me would have called 911. Excuse me. I'd have called 911, and or if he didn't get inside the vehicle and would have known that I was there, and I could have called him, and if I could have just got him to be scared enough to not leave, because my mind frame was to scare him enough to where I could get him to stay, and I would have told him, you better get on the ground. You better get on the ground. You know, meaning I'm not giving you an option, but I'm not going to say, or else, or this is what's going to happen to you. I'm going to just simply demand that you get on the ground, and then I would have had him potentially lay on these rocks facing the property, facing away from me is the point. And so he would have a vague to no description of me in case if he wanted to retaliate or have someone else I guess retaliate towards me, or maybe try try to bring harm to me, which of course that's not an option. That's not going to happen. However, that's the thought process I had in mind, is to have him turn away from me and just keep him there until police would have arrived. However, that didn't happen. So I came back to this vehicle, and then I called 911, gave the description that this guy had on a dark colored hoodie, a hooded sweatshirt, and it had a uni pocket, and he had on jean pants or denim pants, and he could have been Caucasian or a lighter complected African American or biracial, you know, whatever is the best description of a person, but definitely not Latino. It's unlikely. I was judging by his voice, the tone of his voice, not the tone, I'm sorry, but the pronunciation of what he said. He didn't seem to have any kind of, I mean, of course, you really can't be correct about these things, because just because a person does or doesn't have an accent does not mean that you can determine where they're from or their ethnic category. There's no real specific way to do that. But I was just going by the likelihood that this person was Caucasian, because most of the heroin males and females are Caucasian. This is not a put down. This is just simply what has been seen, viewed. And then furthermore, I used to work at a place that is actually literally at the end of this street where the green traffic light is now, and literally you turn to the right and there's a women's it's kind of like a halfway house there, but it's also for ladies that are serving their time there as well. And I worked with the ladies there, and multitude of them were heroin users. Heroin recovering addicts. And many of the times their stories were connected to males that lived close by that were also involved with heroin as well. And then furthermore, I also knew a couple of males that sold heroin, and most of their customers from this part of town, in fact, this very street, were Caucasian users. And that's what I think that's what that person could have been, was either a user or a dealer. So anyway, so earlier I was saying that I have a theory. Well, stopping a threat is exactly what I've done. So that was successful. No one got hurt. He wasn't air carried to the nearest hospital, pronounced dead. Because my mind frame is only one of us is going to court. So that means that he would have no option of going to court. Only I'm going to court. And for those that don't have a firearm or some way to protect yourself, even if you got, a felony or misdemeanors that doesn't maybe allow you to be able to carry a firearm, I would most certainly research your local laws to learn, can you open carry? Do you have that option? In this state that I'm in now, you can open carry. In fact, the tri-state, which is Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, one can open carry here legally without identifying themselves. As long as you know that you don't have a felony or something that disqualifies you from being able to carry, I would encourage you to consider carrying a firearm and or some sort of distance tool. And a distance tool can be a metal expandable baton, I carry a expandable metal baton, and I carry sometimes when I'm going jogging a pepper mace gun. And the pepper mace gun is made by, I suppose that it's actually the company is called Mace. Forgive me if I'm inaccurate. I do my best to be as accurate as possible, but I'm not telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I think. But it's a OC spray that comes in a hard plastic gun shape mace gun, or mace container. It's shaped like a large. It's shaped like a basically an oversized pocket pistol, and it usually has a light, and there's a safety, and it takes a small, maybe about 1.5 inch size OC spray container. And the spray that's injected can be ejected up to 25 feet. That's why I say a distance tool. In fact, I'm going to say a less lethal distance tool is a baton and a pepper mace gun. Those are less lethal. They can be used lethally. So that's why I'm being very specific about saying that they're less lethal options versus a handgun is designed to be lethal ordinarily. So I figure since I don't want to necessarily kill someone, but I do want to stop the threat, because there's a difference. Stopping a threat can be yelling, can be body language, can be presentation of a weapon, can be the use of a weapon. Well, I use my words, and I also presented a handgun, and it stopped the threat. There's no need to fire a handgun or shoot a person if it's not an imminent threat. Furthermore, even if you'd have got in the vehicle, I know, as level-headed as I am, I would not have shot him. Because although we have the castle doctrine, that vehicle is my home by law. That vehicle can be considered my home, or a part of my home, because I have a legal right to be there. However, I wasn't in there. I was in this home. And this home is the home that I legally could have protected myself against him, potentially with lethal force. But I still wouldn't have did it, because for me, although we got the castle doctrine and you got this saying of just because you could don't mean that you should. Well, I'm not going to use the castle doctrine to protect me in the court of law. I figure this vehicle and or the vehicle that he was trying to get in, if I was inside that vehicle, and if that vehicle was able to be moved from where I had it parked yesterday or last night, if I can get away from the guy, even though I have a right to be here, but if I was inside the vehicle and I had a chance to get away from him, and I couldn't use my baton to stop the threat that way, I would have retreated. Really, the word retreat implies to go away from, back to where you came from. So, and that's not really fair because the word retreat implies that I had somewhere to go. Well, I didn't. This is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm not going to use the word retreat. I'm going to say, although legally that's what they would probably say in the court of law, is that it would have been, it's better that I have retreated, but I had nowhere to retreat to. This is where I'm supposed to be. If anything, when I stopped the threat, I caused him to retreat because he does not have any permission or right to be here. So anyway, basically, this vehicle is protection, or that vehicle is considered protection. It has glass windows and it has a lockable door. So that means that if I could have responded to him, I would have locked the door, and prayerfully the window was already up when he approached the door. Then I could have did my best to start the vehicle and drove away from him to stop the threat, and would have called the police that way. Now, if he would have pursued me and even got to me, then I have to figure out what would I do at that point. However, that's probably not what would have happened. He probably would have been just as concerned about me hurting him with the vehicle or doing something to him, or maybe just the fact that I can identify him potentially, that he likely would have went the opposite way, or at least would have probably got away from me, unless I had unless he knew the likelihood that I had something that he wanted. And I highly doubt that. But the vehicle is a 2002. We're talking about, this is 2019. That is a 2002 Pontiac Bonneville. Pontiac Bonneville SLE. It's 4 doors. It's got 177,000 miles on it. But I had it rebuilt to where it's approximately half of those miles. It doesn't have perfect paint, but it looks nice at a distance. But if one can see it up close, one would be able to see the flaws on the driver's side from when there was collision, where a person sideswiped me on the highway. And then another date, a man took his vehicle and backed into this same vehicle, not once, but twice. He didn't have insurance, but the front of the vehicle looks like there wasn't any damage done to it. But the side swipe that happened in the first accident, one can tell that something happened to that vehicle, but the vehicle still looks good at a distance because there aren't any dents. It's just a scrape where one can see that the vehicle has faded paint on one side. Well, I'm not going to say fade. It's dulled paint because there's touch-up paint on that side. Now, I'm aware that me derailed from what I was originally speaking about. I'm just simply trying to just give all the facts in case people want an extensive understanding about what happened. So anyway, so I'll bring that to a close by saying, for those that don't carry some kind of weaponry, very much consider a distance tool. Minimally, a pepper mace gun, which I would say one can get those at Amazon, eBay, and possibly the Walmart website. And it's the MACE, Mace logo, and it's an OC spray. And there's more than one option. There's different colors of it, and they're approximately $35 up to, I guess, as high as $60. And a baton, an expandable baton, because I figure the pepper mace gun is going to be a seasonal product. Because if you try to use a OC spray in frigid weather, like how it gets very cold here, it may be the liquid may be frozen, and or it just may not have enough oxygen to expand. That means that it's probably going to come out as just a drippy liquid, and it's ineffective to the person that you're trying to defend yourself against. So overall, is get a all-season weapon, which is a expandable baton. And if you have the legal right, or at least search if you got the legal right to carry a handgun, what if it's open carry. However, a disadvantage to open carry is that likely it could be that you're giving away the element of surprise. That means that if you're giving a person the indication that you could defend yourself, then the person that's interested in being aggressively or maybe interested in attacking you may choose you first, because you either can defend someone or yourself. So that can be a disadvantage. But however, I open carry 99% of the time, but I always conceal that other weapon because I got beautiful handguns and I love the floss. But I also have a thought or another theory, which is it could be a visual deterrent. I am 6 foot. I'm 215 plus pounds, all muscle. So when males and or people who have a negative, I guess, like interest towards me, when they see me, there's a likelihood. In fact, I'm likely someone you're going to be wondering, can you take me? Or likely, I don't want to do that with him. He looked like, I would immediately lose to him. And that person would be right. I never lost, and me never will. I'm a magnificent, superior condition, and me always will be. I only get greater. So, me carrying a handgun openly, I think it's a visual deterrent. Because I'm already somebody that look like I can handle myself and handle myself very well and handle that person too, to defend myself and or those that I'm with, or those that need to be protected. So I give the presence of you've already lost, even if you're thinking about it, because I don't tremble for no one. I'll make you tremble, but me don't tremble for no one. So me carrying openly, I think that it has this advantage, because I done been to the roughest neighborhoods in this state, well, this city I should say, and I'm not saying that there aren't somebody who is not about it, or about it as the old term goes. But I really believe that it makes a person wonder, he's by himself, he looks like this, and he's carrying openly. But usually people get smart, and not only they get quiet and they move and let me through, because usually I walk past 6 males, 5 males, and instead of them talking tough like they usually would, and using foul words and the N word, and we're not talking about a racist N word, we're talking about as in African American males or Latino males or Caucasian males. They're not using it in a towards me. It's just it's kind of like saying man. Like, yeah, man. But they say, yeah, N-word. I'm totally in disagreement with that. However, They go from all the negative ways that they speak and how tough they sound and how bunched they are together to making room for me. They get quiet and then they start talking. Hey, what's happening, bro? What's happening, brother? Because I think it has a lot to do with my stature and the fact